You know the saying 2 steps forward and 5 steps back? Well, half a step forward, a kick in the gut, sending us 10 feet back. That's our situation right now. At least, that's the way I would antiquate it. Things finally happen, and the site's fucking post-screen glitches out. I don't know if that's coincidental or... Anyway. To start off, do you remember the lights flickering and the slight power dip from last time? Well, it started to be a routine nowadays. A light bulb here, a flickering on one of the monitors there. Then it started to get worse. The front room TV would just zap off. A bedroom clock, and only the bedroom clock, would reset. It started getting so bad that even Isaac got tired of it. Stupid billion-dollar piece of shit. He goes on about it every time he stomps down the stairs. Only to see the generator is in top working condition. He notes a few things. He feels like he's being watched. The faces in the concrete keep looking at him funnily. He swears that he sees the walls in different materials every time he walks up and down stairs. Honestly, he needs to drop his drinking habit. Although, maybe not everything was due to his liquor. Earlier today, I was checking out the engine block in the security room. Isaac was off muttering to himself or something, and the white noise of all the cameras and monitors graced my ears, so I continued to work, trying to scrape off the black gunk off the metal. I was doing well, I even had a few samples. Then, the power went out. You know that feeling of dread? That sudden oh shit moment? It started to form as I saw the monitors one by one. They went a bit haywire. Then, all of a sudden, the noise, and the lights cut out, and I was left in a void of darkness sitting at a desk, my inspection tools in hand. My eyes darted trying to adjust. I slightly panicked from a noise in the corner, that I learned was just Isaac hurrying up out of his tent. Shit, fuck, god fucking damn it, I told you, he said, stumbling out of his cameras and light fabric teepee. Honestly, he just needs to move into one of the rooms. Can't really blame him though. The place has an aura. Regardless, I grabbed the rifle on the side of my desk, the automatic one. The one I said I would only use in case of a home invasion. As I tapped a flashlight onto it, I could hear Isaac shuffling through his bag and grabbing an old weathered 5-shot. Alright, let's go get these ghosts. There were a number of things wrong with that sentence. Most of all, I just chummed it up to the alcohol on his breath. Bud Light. Ugh. Isaac, you can't shoot a ghost. I muttered this to him as I carefully opened up the door and checked the hallway. And put on some fucking pants. Isaac then put on a coat. This man is going to get me killed. We both moved out, quickly checking some of the ground floor rooms. I took the lead and Isaac kept my ass covered. Nothing. Not a goddamn thing. Hell, the front door was still locked and everything in the room was in one piece. I gazed up at the tall ceiling of the room. John, are you there? John answered back by shining a flashlight off the banister. Did the power go out? It was then that Isaac pulled open one of the heavy curtains. A bright wave of light shined in. Not all of it, apparently. The exterior wall lights were still on, and the loud sound of the generator was chugging on strong. It was a bit of a contingency Theodore and I had. In case of a power surge, with all the things considered, it lined up pretty well with the situation. What happened? John asked from the floor above. I don't know. Blackout? Maybe some crazy truck driver ran into a power line or something, Isaac suggested as he peeked out, half leaning back and forth. I walked over to the window and peeked out. Could be. No. I pointed to the far-off light, shining just over the tops of the trees. The town's lights are still on. Well, the damn ghost must have knocked out the power. Isaac burped into his hand as he spun the cylinder of his revolver. John, stay in your room. We're gonna go bustin'. We're gonna have to work fast, I noted. The surge generator will only keep the electricity on a few hours. Psh, like the guys outside are afraid of electricity anyway. Haven't seen one of them for weeks or met... Just as Isaac was reassuring us, we were met with the flickering of one of the floodlights. Only slight. Then, laughing. Giggling and chuckles, the inhuman voices that came from far off in the dark forest. Sounded like you took an old man's laugh and turned the pitch way down low. Whatever was out there knew our situation, somehow, and knew that we were only a threat away from losing our safety net. And inside the house, only silence filled the void between us. As I stated, pretty assertively, John, go back in your room. I believe a while ago, I talked about what was truly scary and creepy to me. Most notably, the woods. It isn't the obvious, it's the out of place, the darkness, but not the actual black void you stare into that gets under your skin. But what lies behind it, and what you think lies behind it. So, when Isaac and I stood at the top of the staircase, gazing down, my rifle's flashlight only barely illuminating the staircase, you can imagine the atmosphere. "We're gonna die," Isaac said as I took the lead, stepping down a few steps, rifle is shouldered. "We're gonna die and it's gonna possess us." Maybe it was his liquid courage failing him. Nevertheless, Isaac closed the door behind us. I heard him pull the hammer back on his piece. "Well, it has to do the former to accomplish the latter, correct?" I asked as some sort of attempt to lighten the mood. The truth is, the flashlight did nothing. Like, actually nothing. Sure, it gave some amount of light, but the overall stairwell was dark. It was like trying to light up a room with a tea candle. All we saw as we moved down step by step was the rough concrete wall at the bottom. I kept pacing it in my mind. Divider, turn right, generator. Divider, turn right, generator. Isaac and I both reached the bottom of the stairs. My boots hitting the wooden planks at the bottom. I huffed out, "Right, let's get go-" Right before my face slammed into a brick wall. I stumbled back into what I saw was a bookcase. A bookcase. Then I remember the basement didn't have furnished floors. Isaac looked around. I'm guessing his eyes adjusted to the distance and said, "Okay, I'm buzzed, but even I know something is off." Indeed, it was. What was supposed to be a basement was now a library. My nose aching, I leveled my rifle and pointed it around, just to get the light. Strangely, the flashlight now worked as you would expect, illuminating while giving peripheral light. But what was showed was not the basement we knew, but a library. Rows and rows of shelves filled a large rectangular area, and it may have just been the dust in the air, but sound seemed muffled. What the hell's going on? Isaac broke the thick silence, and it gave me some relief knowing that he hadn't vanished or anything. Spotting a doorway at the end of the library, we did the only thing we could do. Press on. Part of me wondered what would greet us on the other side of that door. A black void? Maybe the same room 1,000 times over. Horrific ghouls. All kinds of variable your mind throws together. Instead, we were greeted by a small turn-of-the-century kitchen. There was an old black stove, racks hanging from the ceiling, a wooden table with what seemed to be a butcher's knife sticking out of it. It wasn't a dream. It was real. As crazy as this shit was, we were living it. We made our way around the table towards what I could see was a door across. Isaac hurried and pressed into me, his left hand, his free hand, grabbing onto the collar of my shirt. I paused. What the fuck's going on? Isaac responded by looking around behind us in that strange, disconnected head movement that drunk people usually make. He kept his pistol pointed out behind us. He leaned in to talk to me. Something is behind us. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up as I gazed around. Not a goddamn thing in this medieval fucking kitchen. Well, beside us. I thought for a moment, coming up with the words, "We keep moving forward then." With that, I walked into the strange kitchen. Isaac followed, his hand still gripping the shirt on my shoulder, as we both got closer to the door. The pitch-black doorway like a void. I poked the barrel of my rifle in, flashlight attached. It almost seemed like it went through a curtain. Couldn't see the light on the other side. Retracting my barrel, I took a leap of faith and poked my head in. Just to see that we were in a damn tent, of all things. What the fuck? Was all I could mutter as I stepped through. And honestly, it was, well, a tent. Isaac passed through with me. I could see through his haze that even he was weirded out by this. It was a small, rectangle tent of some sort, about 10 meters long and 6 meters across. 6 bunk beds lined the walls on either side, and they were accompanied by 6 metal chests, in between the space of each bunk, and near them was a dirty smeared plastic window block. And the kicker, no door on the other side. Well, shit, I looked around the tent. It was unnaturally uniform and sealed all the way down. We better double back. Chief, I turned to see Isaac staring at a flat wall. That's gonna be a no-go. I walked up to the tent and pressed my hand up against it. Nothing. I took out my rifle and struck and bashed the wall. The tent fabric must have been made out of starch because it only moved so many millimeters. Well then, we'll just cut our way out, I said, defiant to all of this bullshit. I took out my knife, traditionally made for skinning and other outdoor activities. But I think the creators could give me a pass on this one. I shoved my knife through. Isaac started to gaze around the tent, and a few seconds later asked me, "What's up with that mask?" I turned my head and, I will admit, a chill did go up my back. The third bunk, the middle one on the left, had at the time what I thought was a haunted snowman mask. Must have been some kind of sick joke. White skin, eyes were black like coal, some sort of hole where I guessed a carrot should have gone, jagged teeth a la Creepy Frosty, or something. Hell, the more I looked at it, the more I got a kick out of it. I even laughed. Well, I guess Halloween is around the corner. I turned back to cutting through the tent wall, only to see that the gap that I had cut through was now sealed, and my knife laid on the floor. Oh, so you want to play it like that, huh? Fine. Once again stabbing the sharpened metal through the fabric, I started to cut upward, hoping to carve out a small doorway in which we could exit from. But then I noticed something creeping through the crack. Water. Cold, melted water. And a breeze of bitterly stale air. And snowflakes. What the hell? I muttered as I peeked through. When we descended the stairs into the basement, the air was still cool and all the leaves on the tree had not fallen yet. What I saw outside? I don't know where the hell this tent was. It might have been out in the middle of Canada, but the snow was near a meter high, and it surrounded the tent like a flood. What in the fuck? I was cut off as Isaac chimed in, apparently looking through the snow-smeared windows. That's a lot of snow. Isaac more or less summed up my observation. I backed away from the crack, retracting my knife, and I turned to him. How the hell did this tent get all the way out here? And how did it get set up in all the snow? Isaac didn't answer. He simply just stared around, head bobbing in a half-alcohol haze. "Hey, Dwight," he said. "Yeah?" His eyes squinted as he asked, "Does this tent look a lot more beat up than it did a minute ago?" "What do you—" I pried my eyes from him and looked around. The light seemingly dropped like 7 hours into the night, as all the light from the tent had nearly vanished. The moonlight shone through the much cleaner but also much more broken plastic tent windows, and various holes in the previously intact tent surface. I shone my rifle's light around and took charge of the situation. It couldn't possibly get any more weird, I muttered. I guess I must have jinxed us. Dwight? I turned back to see Isaac, who simply pointed to my left. My eyes followed, slowly, moving like a choppy stop-motion picture as I gazed over, a large beam of moonlight showing through the space of the third bunk, a hole in which the snowman mast had earlier seemingly hung. It wasn't until my mind slowly pieced together, bit by bit, that dread started to sink in. Then, through the broken moonlight of the plastic window just to my right, I could see a shadow zip right across. I moved quickly and hurried to my feet, Isaac aiming his pistol dead in front of him. I shouldered my rifle and did the same. We had no exit flap, and going outside probably was not the smartest idea. Snow can oftentimes be a pretty terrifying setting, especially at night. The snowflakes falling create a wall that limits your vision, the cold biting your skin and your soul. The worst part of it for me is, well, the silence. One might think a quiet environment will allow you to hear the enemy or a threat nearby, but a little bit of science has shown that snowfall stops all sound waves, and making it hard to hear around you. And right now, the near 3 feet of snow outside the tent and the constant rain of flakes outside, it's making it hard for me to hear, and for me and Isaac to hear each other across a small distance. Isaac. So, when a voice sounded from far in the distance, elongated and sounding, well, impersonated, it caught me off guard, as well as it did to Isaac himself. The boy looked startled, turning to face the wall behind him. Lowering his gun, he went from my hardy partner in crime to looking like a deer in the headlights. Barely anything could be heard. Beside Isaac's heavy breathing, his eyes started darting around. Mom? Isaac? The voice sounded again, but more normal this time. Isaac quickly walked over to the tent window and pressed his eyes up against it. Mom, it's me, Isaac. Isaac, back away from the window, I said calmly, not wanting to make any more noise than he was now. But he continued to look outside. Mom, is that you? His eyes seemed to zero in on something in the distance. Isaac, get away from the window, I shouted, but he couldn't hear me. He was too caught up in his own world. He was too caught up to avoid what happened next. Isaac! Cold, hard fear shot up my spine as I heard the voice, distorted and warped. The sound came from right outside the tent wall right behind me. My instinct kicked in as my body jumped forward, aiming my rifle at the wall. But before I could even fire a shot, Isaac screamed. He doesn't know what happened, mostly due to the nature of his injury, but he fell back from the tent wall, clutching his eye as blood started to pour from it. The panic set in as I quickly rushed over, yelling at him to let me see it, but he kept his hands pressed against it. It was probably a smart move, but we didn't have time to think about that. The voice was far too deep to be human. Something straight out of a nightmare fever dream we would all have as a kid came right from the other end of the tent. My vision shot over. I saw the hole that I had cut into the fabric start to rip open. Appendages that looked like, well, from the glance I got, a skeleton, but not really a skeleton, started to rip it open. I grabbed the knife that I used before and stabbed it right into the fabric, cutting through, and started to tear right through it all. All the while I could hear whatever the fuck was on the other end continue to call out over and over and over. Isaac. Come home, Isaac. Come home. Isaac. Isaac. As my knife reached the cold, hard ground, I ripped Isaac off the ground and damn near chucked him through the newly created hole, not caring if there was snow, rain, the void, or whatever the fuck on the other side. Then I grabbed my rifle. Seeing that the thing had gotten a horrifying arm through, I threw myself through the exit as well. I found myself in a free fall. I shut my eyes as the cold air hit me. I fell hard, face first onto the concrete floor of the basement. I shook my head and bolted to my feet, grabbing my rifle, standing to see Isaac had his pea shooter aimed, blood all over his hand and his face. We were both staring at one of the old paintings. The old painting itself was covered in one of those burlap sacks. I looked over to Isaac, who gave me the exact look of exactly what I was thinking. What the fuck? It seems to be a pretty universal reaction to things around here. Walking over, I ripped the burlap off the side and tossed it. The painting was of a clearing, in the middle of a snowy pine forest, snow falling heavily from the sky. It was also blanketing the cold ground, with a small rectangular tent and a campfire outside. At this point, I was just about done with whatever the fuck was going on, not even knowing how long we'd been down there. I eyed the area around us, and I saw the generator through the darkness, not even 12 meters away. Cover me, I ordered Isaac as he held his piece, his back to me. I logged in. I was ready to power up the generator. Then I remembered the security camera. Every time a person logs in, the camera takes a still, for security purposes, to ensure if anybody is tampering with the generator. I quickly tapped on the stored files icon and started scrolling. What I saw should have been impossible. The only way to get access to the generator is by directly going up to the thing, logging in and shutting it off. So, when all the login images besides the one with my mug showing up showed an empty room, I was, well, I shouldn't have been surprised at this point, but I was. Jesus Christ, are you done yet? I'm tired of smelling my own iron-ass blood, Isaac chimed in. Now that wasn't the best time to start wild speculation, so I simply headed over to the diagnostics and waited for the generator to hum back to life. All that grace dust was a calm noise at first, but then you can hear every damn device in the house power back on as the lights flickered back to life. And hell, after tonight, I damn near chuckled out of pure joy. Heh, thank fucking... My celebration was cut off though. Isaac fired off a few rounds from his piece, and the sound waves be damned. The area was so small around us that it sounded like a fucking car exploding right next to us. I stumbled forward to the wall and plugged my ears. I gazed back to see whatever Isaac was targeting. All I saw was a gray concrete wall with 3 smoldering craters in the side. I shook my head, hoping to alleviate the ringing in my ears. I marched right up to him. Isaac, what the actual fuck? His head shot around to look at me. Through all the buzzing in my ear canal, all I could hear him say was, "What? What the fuck are you shooting at? Why are you yelling? Because you deafened me." Isaac stuck one of his fingers in his ears, trying to, I guess, open it up more. Somehow. He said, "I saw a woman." "A what?" I asked, less deaf but more surprised. "A woman. Black hair, dead-looking skin." He shook his head. "She just appeared right when the damn lights came on. I don't know what happened. She disappeared when I fired." I gazed over his shoulder. Then I remembered that the place where we fired off those rounds corresponded with that little incident I had down there just a bit over a month ago. The whole situation soaked in as we went upstairs. The security room showed no breaches occurred, but the backup generator was damn near empty. We had been down there for 3.5 hours. I told Isaac and John to get their stuff. It occurred to me that the situation here is out of my expertise. So I'm following up with one of the leads I had in town, an herbalist named Roseanne, who apparently has a knack for the paranormal. If I and my small band of cabin dwellers are gonna beat whatever's out there, we're gonna need more than some guns and equipment. Better than nothing, to be honest. God willing, this site doesn't give out. I'll give you an update on how it goes. If not, well, I blame Reddit for my sudden death in the woods. Guys, I hope you are enjoying this story as much as I am. It is damn good and damn creative too. So make sure you go show the author some love. He definitely deserves it. I want to thank all the patrons on screen right now. Dan R. Chaos X, JY Pyromancer, Hayden MH, Ethan A, Daniel H, Maximilian Charles P, Go Cute Puppy LLC, Young Sykes, and Dark Side of the Bear. Guys, thank you all so much.